Hi, everyone. Welcome in. If you are here live, let me know where you're watching from. Can everybody hear me okay? Right on. Well, tonight is going to be a little bit different. We just wrapped up the food storage series, and I wanted to slow things down and do a little recap. And you know what? Don't worry. I am not going to tell you to go out and buy 400 pounds of rice tonight. Yeah, so if my eyes look a little bit fried today, um, I was camping in the snow, having a lot of wood smoke with my teenage boys. Just going to show you this because I think it is just fantastic. So, yes, this is this morning, and you can see uh, the white stuff coming down, and you can also see the mess kit doing its job. And I wanted to point out that those are the sausage patties that uh, we showed in the food storage at work camping this morning. So just something really fun and something I could do with my boys. So really, if food storage was just about buying more cans, we'd all be prepared and we'd all be broke. Instead, what we've been building is something that is much more sustainable. It's a system. So that's the real critical thing that I want to talk about today. So let's just recap what this series is really about. And feel free to get on the chat. And if I look over here, it's at the chat. And just want to see what you guys are saying, where you guys are from. Definitely. Right on. Welcome here, all of you guys that are on here. So, what this recap and series was really about, it was about not just stockpiling, but it was about building a rotation system and not replacing what's empty. And what we do as a family, and this might really put it together for you, and I'm just not sure where everyone is at, but my wife and I, we actually follow a 30-day meal cycle. So we actually have all 30 days of the month that is built out. So we know day to day what we're eating. And you might think, well, is that good? Is that a lot of variety? Yeah, it absolutely is. We don't eat the same thing twice a lot of times in a month. So that really is a good thing. Hey, Sam D Q9V, thanks. That is awesome. And she's just said that is smart. And I think it is. It really saves a lot of money because you actually build a shopping system based out of that. And my wife is a genius. So she gets a lot of credit for the organization and that part of it. And I get to mostly enjoy the food and talk about the system and what we do. And of course, help with that a lot. But it's a 30-day meal cycle that allows you to go to the store, get what you need, and it's super easy. Like we go through our Costco and it's based on what is on our shelves. And so you know how your Costco is laid out wherever you are, and it's different in the next city. But when you get your Costco down, you can just go on and go row by row and get exactly what you need, and you're not wasting any time, especially when it's busy. So let's talk about, we're going to recap budget discipline. That's what this was about. It was about saving money, and that is absolutely huge. Um, it's about variety to prevent burnout and structure over spreadsheets. Yeah, welcome in. It's good to see you guys here today. I'm going to go over some of your questions. We're going to go right into it. One of the polls that we ran showed that the biggest struggle that people are having right now. Oh, hey, L Dog 4594. Hello, welcome here. This is awesome. I love that I get to say welcome here for real, right? I say it on all my videos because I think it's really important that people feel welcome nowadays, but I get to say it for real right here on the live. So this is fun. Uh, Yeah, so one of the biggest polls that we ran shows that the struggle is maintaining budget, and that is huge. Hello from Missouri, Amy Davis. I know you've made lots of comments on videos. Welcome here, 30 Amy Davis 3152. Hello. That is really cool. So that poll, everyone's struggling with maintaining budget. And that is a real thing. And people are really feeling it right now. Wouldn't you agree that? Hello, Ray 1092. Yes, right on. Welcome here. So families are feeling really stretched. And the second biggest concern in all the polling of this viewership is feeding a family long term without burnout. And that is absolutely right. And how as I was talking about that 30-day meal plan, this is what gives us really freedom from burnout, because when you can choose those meals, but you can actually use them from your storage and have a lot of variety and use the products that you already own, it just absolutely comes together. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. It's just fun to be here. I came from a municipal disaster preparedness background, and it's just good I love sharing this stuff, and it's something I'm passionate about. So thank you for that support and encouragement, because I do have a normal job. I'm in the agriculture industry in a kind of a different way. I look at soil and soil health, and that. So that's a lot. And then doing videos on kind of a part-time basis is a wild thing. But burnout with families is absolutely huge, and it's about sustainability. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And we're going to talk about some of your other questions. And I do have a question from you, Amy Davis. So get ready. Uh, Sustainability is really the core of what this channel is all about, and systems that work under normal circumstances and systems that still work when life gets harder, right? Because we want to have a system, like, we don't want to be, let's just call it prepping, where everything is geared toward the what if, and everything is geared toward some event that's coming in the future. And I think a lot of us that are on this channel and in this mode, we are preparing for something in the future, right? But we have to have something that works right now, and it has to work for our budgets right now. It has to work for our kids' mouths right now. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sam D. Q9V. That is awesome. I love it. Just thank you so much. It just blesses my heart to see people that are just enjoying this content. But systems that work under these normal circumstances, and then systems that work when life gets harder. So I'm going to go to this viewer question, and this one is from Amy Davis 3152, and she asked, I'm curious about cold storage, because I did show that. So she says, how do you keep it at a steady, cooler temperature? So that is an absolute great question, because cold storage is something that is a little bit tricky. So our cold storage room is in the basement. It is in an area that has concrete walls dividing it from the rest of the basement, and it was specifically built for that purpose when the house was built. So it's a little bit of a unique situation, because it was built for that purpose. It's really well insulated on the walls and the ceiling. And then this is the critical piece. We have two vents that go to the outside, and those pipes, they both exit the room at the ceiling, but one pipe opens at the top of the room and just exits, so the warm air can go out there. And then the other pipe, it comes in, but it runs all the way down the wall and comes out at the bottom, so that cool air from the outside can replace the warm air that's going out. And then you have that really good airflow. So get the natural airflow, the warm air exits through the top, cooler air replaces it from below. In extreme cold, like we do have, like minus 20 Fahrenheit, we actually stuff towels in the vents. because otherwise things can freeze. We have a thermometer in there, and when it starts getting down to 5, you know, yeah, 20, I don't know, 30, let's say 35, 37 degrees, then we look at like 5 degrees above freezing. We got to open the door and let a little bit of warmth in there and just warm that up. So, because you don't want frozen potatoes, because frozen potatoes, once they freeze, I don't know if you've ever had that happen. Well, it is just a gross and bad time. So, let's not go there. The book that really helped me with food storage and a cold storage room was the book Root Cellaring. So I have that linked in my Amazon bookstore. I have a lot of our books that we have on our bookshelves linked in there because they're books that I honestly have. So root cellaring. So how many of you guys struggle with having a properly designed space for food storage? You can just type space in the chat if that is you. How many of you struggle with having a properly designed space for food storage? Because I know, yeah, absolutely. Yep, I see that. And you're welcome for the book note. Yes, you know, it is a common thing, and we are blessed absolutely in the videos that I've made and shown you guys the space that we do have. We haven't always had this space. We actually moved here about a year and a half ago. And before that, in several different houses, because we've moved a few times, uh, we haven't had this space, and it's been pretty tough. And we actually have 5 kids, and if you have even a 5-bedroom house, well, you know, there's people sleeping in, we've got twin boys, and they have to share a room, and then where do you stuff things? And we've had stuff underneath beds all over the place. So yeah, Ray, we water bath, but we are getting into pressure cooking food. I eat typically quite a bit of, let's just say, it's a blended, it's kind of a, I don't know, carnivore diet. I don't know if that'll throw a bunch of you guys off, but I eat quite a bit of meat, animal protein and everything. And we are getting into pressure canning. It's just something that we haven't done in the past, and we're actually learning that. So that's a very good question. But let's go down and take a few live questions. So if you guys have any live questions, just put them in the chat. Anything. I really don't care. I will try to answer whatever you guys throw out. And just like in the comments after the videos that I make, I love it that you guys ask questions and we get to just go back and forth with that stuff. So I see that, Amy, you're struggling with space. And okay, we got a question from Sam. Are you bulk buying the meat like from a butcher? Sam, we have done that. We have bought from farmers that we know in the past. So with our family, it's a combination. We get some of our meat from, let's just say, one of the large wholesalers. And then we get some of our meat from local farmers. And so it's a real mix, right? And we get some of our chicken from local Hutterite colonies in the past and sources like that. So if we can get it local, especially with dairy and meat, I think you're going to be a lot better off, in my opinion. So that's what we try to do. We can't always afford to do it all that way, but that would be the ideal for sure. All right, so let's go for another question. Any questions that you guys have? How long have you guys been building your food system? I'm just throwing things out. If I see something in the chat, I will definitely answer those questions. How long have you guys been going on your food systems? We've been going for, like I said, over kind of around 2 decades. So really as long as we've had children, and we've just constantly worked on that. We used to have animals as well that we had as part of that. I milked goats at one point, and because our kids they couldn't have the cow milk, and we switched them to goat milk. So L-Dog, you just started taking this food and water serious. That is awesome to hear. And I just appreciate anybody out there that is starting this, because we all have to start, and sometimes it is a little bit intimidating on how to do it, and also how not to. We don't want to waste money, do we? We want to do this budgeting well. So that's really good. Sam, we got 6 months and just struggling with the aspect of what exactly to buy, exactly, and what you can use. So here's just an interesting piece. That 30-day meal plan, and that's something that we could work on. I don't know if you guys have seen the free resource that I put out a couple weeks ago now. Well, actually, just a week ago, and it's on how to build a 72-hour go bag, and I think it's an 18-page piece that we wrote, and it's just really simple. It's free, and it's for you guys as a thank you. But there is some there. I know with a 30-day meal plan that that's something that might be helpful to people as well. So we're looking at those kind of aspects to make some of those resources available. Yeah, Sam, 6 months. Okay, awesome, awesome. Ray, 2 years. There you go. Good. We're all working together, right? Whether you've been 20 years, 2 years, we're all learning. And I think as we can learn together, we can increase that speed of maybe not making mistakes and spending money that we don't want to spend, right? Because that is kind of the worst thing. Amy, I am new to the food storage. I grow a garden. That's awesome. But I'm working on upscaling to be able to preserve more food for the off season and beyond. Really cool. Yeah, and it's great if you can kind of accent that the food storage with gardening, right? We try to do that as much as possible on the videos. You've seen some of those things in the canning. Okay, here we go. Are there any water filters or purifiers you can highly recommend? That's interesting. I am working on a video that is going to. I'm just kind of waiting for spring, where the water is really running, and I can get out there and do some good video work. I was, like I said, I was out camping, but all the rivers and creeks were fairly frozen. You can only just melt snow. So it was pretty fun. We had a lot of fun. I slept about 6 hours last night, which was pretty good for out there. Just under a tarp shelter, like under a poncho, actually, a military poncho. So it was a fun time. But as water filters and purifiers that I highly recommend, I well, and I don't even know if you can get them in the States because of some of the stuff, but it's the Berkey system. I really like the Berkey system. We used it for years. I know now that there's been some sort of a lawsuit or something like that, and I'm not sure exactly what's going on with Berkey water filters, but we still have them. We still have, and I showed it in the video where we carried the extra filters, and so that's a gravity fed that you can use inside your home. I also have the Catadine water filter that it does about 300 gallons, and that primarily is like a backpacking hiking type filter, but it can do 300 gallons on one filter. So then if you go and get a couple extra filters, you're going to be able to filter a lot of water, but it is a pump. Like you've got to pump that water, and it takes about a minute to do a quart of water through that filter. So it's not like, where you could do it for a large family or something like that, but it does put out a lot of water, and you're going to be safe with it, which is really great. So I like that one. I do have on my Amazon storefront, I've tried to just put everything in categories, and I do have a section that has water filtering and water needs. I think it's called Water Essentials. So there's some stuff on there. Rocky Valley, hello. Rocky Valley ready, 8 months. That is awesome. 8 months is a perfect opportunity. You've probably learned a lot during that time, and you're just, growing in that. So let's keep going here. The next viewer question I thought was interesting, and they wrote, "What if you don't have enough space?" not under beds, no closets. And this is from the UK. UK houses don't have such things, which is, I guess, true. Basements, forget that one. No garage, small garden. The average house size seems to be about half of what you get in the USA. If it won't fit the 10-foot by 8-foot kitchen, then that's it. And this is seen as a family house, 800 square feet. And now that is daunting because, like I said, we've lived in some pretty tight places, but that is really tight. And especially if you've got, 3 or 4 children in there, that's a real challenge. So not everyone has a basement and not everyone has a garage. And I am actually working on a series specifically designed for smaller spaces. And it will probably it'll be out in about a month. I'm working on that because I know from all of your comments that this is really important. Um, all right, I've been at it for about 6 years or so. Nisha, awesome. Nisha, welcome here. I live in a studio and it can be a challenge. I make it work. Absolutely. It is hard in a studio, but you guys, because you're here, you're not saying, well, it's not doable. It is doable. It's just how do we do it? So I'm going to really address the small space part because I know that's really important. So in the meantime, I do have a video, if you guys aren't aware, that was designed with small spaces in mind, and you might find that helpful. And that was Dollar Store Secrets, I think. But here's the key. The principles don't change. When you're talking about small spaces, only the footprint changes. And you can build a system in 800 square feet. It just requires a tighter structure. So here's a question for you. Would a dedicated small space series be helpful to you? Excuse me. Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of structure, I just released something new and I just talked about it, that 72-hour guide for building a go bag. And that's just not a list of random gear. It is structured, layered, practical. Our family had to use it to evacuate in the past, so it's actually tested knowledge and it's not theory. So it's just my thank you for being part of this channel. Okay, L-Dog. Okay. Yeah, you want that. Okay, perfect. I'm working on it. Takes a little while to write scripts and put it all together and figure out how it's gonna all work because it has to make sense. Otherwise, YouTube doesn't like it. So there you go. Hamburger mix question. I had a question from Robin Jump E3M. And it was, I would like to know what your special mix for hamburger patties is. Thanks. And that's fair. So I do share them in the comments when people have asked, but I've noticed a lot of questions lately about money saving recipes for using food storage. So that's something I'm going to work on. If you think that would be cool, would you guys think that would be cool? A compiled resource of money saving recipes that work with food storage. Yes or no? In the comments. Let me know. I try to listen to your comments as much as I possibly can. All right, Sam says yes. All right. And we've got Tenjamayo. Hope I'm saying that right. Hello from Malaysia. So I have a question because I just started my pantry prepper this year again, dude. Okay. All right. I live in a condo unit. My pantry room is small, with a small room with a window. I cover it up, but it's still a bit warm. Should I keep my air conditioner on all day? Oh, that's a good question. It really depends on how hot it gets, right? You want that food storage room to be at room temperature or below. Anything above that room temperature, really, we try to keep ours around that, 60-degree mark almost all year round if we can, right? Where it's just cool, but it's not cold and it's not warm. So if you need to run your air conditioner, I guess that's what you need to do. I would try to do other things as much as you can. Like if you can really block that window with something that reflects the heat out, right? That's really important. And if there's any other insulation things that you can do to that room just to keep it from going up and down in temperature, because that is one of the biggest killers to stored food is when the temperature goes up and down all the time. Right on. All right. Here's another one. And this isn't a question, but I think it's really important. Ray thinks that would be great. Awesome. Okay. So this is from Dana Marie 8718. And she wrote, replace what's empty has worked well for me. I used to keep inventory lists. It was cumbersome keeping them updated. Now I have specific spaces for items like you do. The space accommodates the numbers of items I need fully stocked. Now all I have to do is look at the empty spaces and I can keep one shelf for excess. So she said, and that's exactly what we found too. It was cumbersome. We started with spreadsheets and lists and it was cumbersome. And now we have that 30-day meal rotation system and it is solid because once you build that, it just happens month after month after month and you don't have to think about it again. You don't have to plan. You just have empties. You have empty space and that's where you count. Oh, I'm down 1 peanut butter, right? Or, oh, I need some sriracha. So that's the easy way to look for those empties because you know you're supposed to have, maybe in your system, you're supposed to have 4 cans of something. Well, then if there's only 3, you buy one at the store and you're good to go and you keep those rotated, right? Let's see. All right. So would you guys be interested in a comprehensive how-to manual on building an entire preparedness system? Not just food, not just a go bag, but a whole home system. Something structured like the free 72-hour guide, but much larger in scope. Would that be valuable to you guys? I'll wait to see if anybody wants that kind of stuff in the comments, and we can take a few more live questions. I'm constantly scanning the chat here. All right. Awesome. Amy says yes. All right. People would like the whole home system. Yeah, and I thought that might be the best way to put this all together because there are so many areas, right? You've got your water, your food, your lighting, your fuel, your all the little things that make a household work. And when for some reason they're not functioning or not there, you really know about it. It's kind of like a vehicle, right? If something is broken and the whole thing doesn't work, well, then you're kind of hooped. All right, so let's go. Tanzania. I was thinking to get water storage container but then I get water from the store. How can it last? Shows it. Okay. Can't be believed. Can you believe it if water says that it can store for 3 years? So here's my answer on water. And you got to take this like I am not I can't say that I'm your health expert, right? I'm not the FDA or anything like that. But on water, we tend to treat water as a rotation, just like everything else. So the important thing is that we only keep our water storage for less, like up to a year, and then we use it. We always make sure that we use that water. So I never store water more than a year at a time. I believe in rotating everything. So yes, you can't just store water. I believe you can't just store water for 3 years and forget about it and say that's my water no matter what happens. Because how can you might not be able to trust it. Some people might say you can, but I like to say up to a year. So what I do is I just build a rotation and we use that water and then we buy into it. So we're constantly, and it happens like all the time. Like you just use one flat of water and you buy one flat of water. So it's not a big deal. It's not a huge budget expense or anything like that. So we actually use our 6 month system and we rotate in every 6 months to a year. We never have things go over date because we're constantly changing them out. All right. So you'd like that as well, Tanjmio. That's perfect. All right. Um, awesome. And welcome here. Yeah, that's good. So let's take a few more live questions. Anybody else have some questions? What area of preparedness feels the most confusing? Or what's holding you back right now? I just want to, I'm trying to aim this so that it actually helps as many people as possible. And I really do that by listening to the comments and trying to have conversations with you guys. And I appreciate every single one of you guys that is on this live because it just means a lot. It just means a lot to hear back and build something that people can really use and enjoy, and we can go through life together. It's pretty exciting. So is there any questions? I won't hold this live for a long time, but I want to get your questions if you have them. I am planning on doing another live. I'm going to be running another series and then I will do a live after it so we can kind of chat through things. And if you guys have questions, definitely, I want to be available for those questions. So let's see, any more questions? I hope I'm not missing any questions. I'm trying to read at the same time I'm trying to talk, and that's sometimes a challenge. So yes, Sam, I do shoot for having 6 months of water on hand. Yes, so we do that, and I think I've showed it in a couple videos where we have the gallon jugs. We also have the 5 gallon jugs. We have a whole pile of those, and that's more for some of the bulk water needs. And then we also have just regular water bottles and then a large storage tank as well. But that's for our family of 7, which requires quite a bit. We're also on a well, so we don't have the municipal problem that can come up if your municipal water fails. As long as we can have power with a generator, we should be able to pump water. But that's hoping we have fuel. We have fuel for a number of weeks for sure. And then, we've got other sources of fuel that would work on that generator as well because it's biofuel. Like it uses several different kinds of fuel. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your comments on here. But I want to say this really clearly. Oh, one more question. Perfect. About the portable battery. Should I get one that's small and I can bring it along, or a big one? I'm considering. Okay, Eco River 3 Plus. Okay, I am not familiar with that one, so I would have to look at that. I do have some resources again in the Amazon store that for power in specific, but I think that if you don't have any way to have backup power, you should have a system that at least allows you to power things for 24 hours. So what you need to do is do a calculation on how much you use power and at least get 24 hours worth at your first crack at it. Now, I know if you're talking about something that's portable, that's only going to power something for a few hours. But I would say that you should try to get something that would power for 24 hours, which is, I know, a lot to bite off. But that's 24 hours is where we can really start upping survivability of some nasty events. And you know what? If you have 24 hours of capability, you don't have to use it all in 24 hours. Maybe you can stretch that 24 hours of capability into 3 days. So that's the kind of thing that you need to do a calculation on is your power usage and maybe a small portable system. Maybe you don't use a lot of power. We use a ton of power in this house, and no matter how many times I tell the kids to turn off the lights or whatever, we're constantly trying to save some energy, right? So I would definitely get something small, but make sure it's not too small. You want something that provides real capability, because real capability is the difference between having trouble where you're going to have to ask someone for help, and it might be the government for help, and maybe we don't want to do that. So, but I want to say this clearly: we're not on this channel. We're not panic preparing. We are building stability. And under normal circumstances, these systems help with budgeting, organization, and stress reduction. And if life gets harder, they provide a margin. There you go. Sam, government help is a hard no. Right on. Well, you know what? We are a community that we want to help ourselves. We want to do it ourselves. No one needs to come to our rescue, hopefully, right? And in fact, we want to prepare so much that we can give to our neighbors, right? We can give to other people if we have the means and the ways to do that, of course, in safety. All right, we got a couple questions here. So, are Brita filters a good source of filtration? I would say for if you're just going to do municipal water, yeah, you could do that, but they are really just a taste filter. So it's a carbon filter and it's primarily for taste. And I am not a expert on water filtration, but they are a carbon filter for taste, and they're not for all of the nasty pathogens that can be in. Like if you went and got water out of a creek somewhere that was close to town, who knows what's in it, right? And like some of the heavy metals, some of like the fluorines, and all the nasty stuff that can be in there, bacterias, all that. You want something that is rated for bacteria. You want something that's rated for, I think there's bacteria, viruses, and then there's all the metals and other contaminants, right? You want to be able to take arsenic out of your water, right? And Brita, you can read about Brita a little bit more, but it's really for tap water. You just want to make the taste better. All right. So biggest question is from Amy. My biggest question is backup power. My parents have a special power needs. I did get a Jackery 2000 for them. Okay, that is good. What kind of generator would you recommend? Awesome. That is a good one. So a Jackery 2000, like that's what I'm saying. A Jackery 2000 is kind of that mid-range where you do have quite a bit of capability. The biggest thing with it is, what do they need that power backup for? And how long are you trying to do it? If they're trying to keep their fridge from going down, if they're trying to keep their freezer from going down, you need to figure out how many watts that those two units use, and then build it out from there. So if those two units use, one is 400 watts and one is 500 watts, so that's 900 watts together. Well, then you need something that will run 900 watts of power for, I say, 24 hours. So what size of unit does it for that? So you need to do a little bit of math with that, and then go for their specific power needs. So for me to say, what kind of generator would you recommend? I always say get a dual fuel if they're anywhere where they can run a gasoline generator, or a dual fuel. Like we have one that's natural gas it's also propane, it's also gasoline. So, and it runs our whole house. That's for us, right? But some people could have a smaller unit and still get by. So you really need to figure out what you're trying to do with that power and then build from there so that you at least start with 24 hours. I try to go for a couple weeks personally, but I've been, like I said, I've been doing this. I've got a big generator that takes care of our family. Um, Another question. Let's see. Should I prepare a portable toilet in case of anything? Oh, there you go. So I've been debating whether or not to do a sanitation video on the channel, and I just don't know if it's going to be any sort of successful video on YouTube, right? So when you start talking about, number one and number two on YouTube and how to deal with that in a bad situation, right? Where the world is not functioning as is. But I would say this to you: yes, have a portable toilet in case of something, right? So, what we have on minimum is we have one of the bag systems that you can, basically, it's a bucket that it's got these special bags that then any waste that's in there, you can basically dispose of that. I mean, you'd have to put it in a hole somewhere, right? In a really bad emergency. So that's the real challenge with sanitation. And without rule of law, I mean, in a really bad situation, you've got to get rid of it somehow. And you've got to get rid of it in a way that doesn't make you sick. So it has to be buried, it has to be far away. Like indoor plumbing is a good thing. And the longer we have it, the better. Right. So yeah, Amy Davis says cat hole. Absolutely. And we were just camping. And that's part of something you can do. But how many cat holes fit in your backyard, right? And then what, right? How much square footage is there? Luggable loo toilet, that's similar, similar to what we use. That's right. And that's just a basic system. You can go with like a compostable toilet, and that would probably be a great idea because that gives you a little more longevity, right? Because with a composting toilet, there's things that you add, and then it just keeps going, which is great, and you can just keep the cycle going, keeping that composting toilet working, and it'll gain you a lot for you. So yeah, I should do a video, shouldn't I? You guys want a toilet video? There you go. Oh, that's fun. Sam's laughing. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay, fine. We'll do a toilet video. I love it. Oh, that's good. Thanks so much for being on. Honestly, if we can provide options and we just keep building smartly together, like that's really what it is just doing the things that are smart together, and hopefully being a little bit of, and I can, this can sound a little bit goofy, but being a light in your neighborhood, your community, because you are not a burden, right? We're not a burden on anyone because we have taken care. And then in a real disaster, we're able to help, even if it's on a stealth mode, so no one knows that you're actually prepared, but you can just do it, kind of on the down low. It's really like it gets you in the heart, right? Like you want to be there for people. And it's just part of, I think, how some of us are made. So that's what we're doing. Oh, we got another question here. What about washing clothes? No worries. Uh, Washing clothes is definitely a challenge in a grid down situation because it does require quite a bit of water. So That's again why we store a lot of water, and you're definitely going to need some different ways to, like, you need some containers in order to wash clothes. If your laundry does not work because the electricity doesn't work, you're going to have to find a way to have a wash tub. I mean, we've got some antique washboards, but you need to have a tub of water, like a tote. Just use a storage tote. You can pick those up for $5, and you can wash clothes in one, and that can be your soapy water, and the other one can be a rinse. And then you're gonna have to dry them somehow, dry them outside on a clothesline like they did in the olden days, right? So perfect, Sam. It is not goofy. It is a goal. So I think, unless there's any urgent questions here, I think we'll wrap this up for tonight. But you know what? If if all we get from this is less of the "what's for dinner" question, right? With the 30 day meal plan and a better grocery budget, that is already a win. And you guys have said that you would really like that. So I'll get to work on it. It's gonna be a while, but we'll try to work on that. But download that free 72-hour guide if you have not. It is in the description, and the channel now has a website. So you can go to the website, you can find it there, and start that way. We're going to be putting up different resources there as we build them. Like I said, this is in our spare time. So my spare time and my wife's spare time. So, but thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much.